Welcome to Leadership and People. This is a series that pulls back the curtain on leadership by interviewing CEOs, senior executives, and entrepreneurs who have had large exits. We ask these experts about how they built trusted networks to rapidly grow their companies and what advice they wish they knew if they could do it all again. This is part 2 of our episode with Jill Krishnamurthy.
What's actually going on in this industry right now is taking learnings from other industries and recognizing that we can take those and apply them to this industry that hasn't evolved really in decades.
So on the last episode, we were talking a lot about people focus and how this shows up with your clients and running the business. Let's talk about, as a co-founder, let's talk about as an entrepreneur, your approach to the people that you rely on for, I mean, being in charge can be a lonely position. Talk to me about that from your experience.
Well, I think that the relationships that I have with my chairman, with my CRO, who's my number 2, and also, co-founder in this, means so much to me. And we look at each other as peers and support each other, and I think are a really good collaborative team, which I haven't always had in businesses that I've been on management teams in before. So it's something I'm really grateful for, and have just recognized the value of that dynamic, and having a really productive mixture of personalities where we can get a lot done and have a good time doing so.
So my question, I think, follow up to that is thinking about how to not end up just sitting around the boardroom table drinking your own Kool-Aid of how smart we are, right?
Yep.
When you think about knowledge acquisition and you guys, figuring out what the other leaders are doing out there and what you can learn from it and stuff, what's kind of your go-to sources? Where do you like to start? Who are your peers? How do you get out there? What do you like to do?
Yeah. What I like to do, I have so many great friends who either I went to school with or have been great friends since, or who I've, met along the path, who are in similar or even different
do you have
roles.
An example of one? One comes to mind?
Yeah. So one that comes to mind, my closest friend is Susan Peterson. She runs Freshly Picked baby moccasin company. We were both introduced because all of our guy friends in the business world looked at each other and said, "Hey, you're 2 women, you in business, you guys should meet." And we kind of rolled our eyes and laughed, like, okay, fine, we'll go to lunch. But but in that, I've really appreciated the relationship, and that I call her sort of my personal board of advisory, that someone who's in a similar space, who's a woman in the business world here, and helps me keep my head on straight.
I was just on a panel with her recently, and for just hockey stick type success, she doesn't seem to take herself too seriously, huh? Oh yeah,
she has a good time. Yep. And I appreciate that. And the people who I try to surround myself with are people who don't take themselves too seriously, are humble in nature, and have a good time, because isn't that why we're doing this,
Yeah. Well, and let's think about that. I mean, every business is a people business. I've never gotten, at the higher levels of an industry and heard somebody say that this is not a tight network of people who know each other.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So specifically in the event business, I'm guessing that so-and-so with some multi-million-dollar ranch who had a good experience with you makes it more likely their friends willing to sign up.
Yep, that's true.
Any insights of having played that game of, building a relationship or closing a client? It's all kind of the same, but it's always a little bit of a different recipe when you're in a different industry too.
Yeah.
Anything that people from outside your space wouldn't understand about or wouldn't naturally know?
Gosh, this space is so fractionalized, which is why we're doing what we're doing here, is really working to build that marketplace, so that our customers have options. And so I think what's actually going on in this industry right now is taking learnings from other industries and recognizing that we can take those and apply them to this industry that hasn't evolved really in decades. And it's very fractionalized. Things are kind of done as they've been done for a long time, but yet other industries have evolved pretty significantly. So that's one of my areas of focus, is taking not just innovation for the sake of innovation, but innovation of best practices out there for evolved marketplaces and industries, and bringing that into Duo and the event venue business.
Yeah. So you referenced Airbnb before.
Yes.
Right. And so a lot of us can think about the technology that might be required for that and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What human aspects are involved in learning from somebody like that and applying it to yours?
The human aspects of learning from these other industries.
Like Airbnb. Let's take Airbnb.
Yeah.
We can think about having the technology and having the website and this, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
What are the human or the leadership aspects of either getting your staff used to it or getting your clients used to it, or what does it take on the human or leadership aspects of something like that?
Yeah. Well, I think that I mentioned not just innovation for the sake of innovation, the human element, doesn't it weave throughout all that we're doing, or should, right? And so I think that human element of, well, what is needed in evolving an industry, and that should really be rooted in the human element of that industry. So for us, that human element comes from understanding, well, what would benefit our customers? Not just bringing something in because it's cool in another industry, but what would be helpful here? And so, for us, it's actually not necessarily automated reservation system, because guess what? Customers don't want to spend $10,000 and book that online. They want to talk to us. They want to get comfortable and share their ideas and make sure that they're booking the right thing. And so technology or evolution might not come from automated reservation system, but it might come from other areas we're focused on, like the system for communication, so that it's enabling that human interaction, but in a systematized way. So that's one thing we're working on just throughout our sales experience. And another,
So you mean like less friction, so that
Yes.
communication is more efficient, people feel like they're getting
Exactly.
their answers in a more timely way?
Yeah, and we can communicate through different modes of communication based on what the customer wants. So some customers want to email. Some customers want to talk on the phone. Others want to text. Others want to do instant chat on our website, right?
Instead of shoehorning them into the way you do things.
Exactly.
Being responsive.
Yeah, so that's what we've been working on, is being able to capture our leads and learn from them what their desired method of communication is, and responding in that way.
So, that comment I don't think is going to be earth-shattering to people who
Right.
read business media, right? So how do you separate the difference between what we think our customers were like versus which of our hypotheses, which of our prototypes actually worked?
Yeah. Well, I'm a numbers person, so my answer is this. It's determine the metrics that matter in your business. And as you're bringing on new processes, like we talked about, or evolving things, do your metrics change? Do they improve? Because if what matters to you is, let's say, lead generation, and you put processes together that don't impact lead generation, they impact something else, well, why do that? Right? So my answer is understand what matters, and track what matters, because that should be the driver for what you introduce or evolve or change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about folks, maybe let's take somebody from a more bureaucratic background, less of a, been around more than a year, right?
Yeah.
And it's not fast moving. And maybe there's a lot going on because it's always been going on that way.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice for leaders who they want to help, they want to lead the team to say, we're not going to keep doing this because we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
We're going to start tracking what actually helps the people we're serving.
Yeah.
But, the old ruts are so deep.
Sure.
And especially take, maybe some of those organizations where you don't just fire people on the spot. There's
Yeah.
unions, or there's
Right.
government, or there's whatever, right? Any thoughts about how to help those leaders with maybe the resistance to that kind of metrics, and having the metrics be how we are connecting with our customer instead of just a number for a number's sake?
Yeah, and how we make those decisions. I would go back to our discussion about relationships and that human or team dynamic, that maybe even taking it on a one-on-one perspective where you talk to the team members and you recognize that having others take ownership for that is going to help you get there versus you just holding a flag by yourself and waving it, but really working almost to campaign individually and bring people along, go with me on this, almost that approach of getting people to not just feel like they need to change because you want to.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of in your own team of you wanted it this way, but you realized so-and-so maybe needed some more ownership over it? Anything that comes to mind of originally you were going to do it this way, but because of the people on your team, you decided to let them take more ownership or something?
Yeah, I think that our sales team has 10 years of experience, many of the managers on that team. And I came in thinking and expecting a sales process that looked one way and having quote unquote best practices sort of proving to me, hey, we should do it this way. And I didn't have the knowledge of some of those finer details and nuances of this industry or the customer base we work with. And one of those examples is the human interaction we talked about, that I would have, when I first came into this space, I would think people would want to automate the reservation system and not have to talk to a sales rep. But thank goodness the sales team and managers recognize that and sort of, put their foot down to say, hey, this is going to be a best practice for this industry.
Yeah.
And I just think that leadership quality is one that I aim to, or I strive to have, which is that me being a leader in this business doesn't mean I have the answers. It means that I want to facilitate the team dynamic, working together and coming up with those answers themselves.
Okay, but what about, a task-oriented guy like me, right? Who likes to be right, likes to be in charge, likes to get stuff done, right? Any advice for that type of personality of just things you tell yourself to slow down and maybe be humble and listen more?
Yeah.
Or any tricks that you use?
Well, I don't know that I have a trick per se, but I think being open about it and recognizing that with my management team, our COO, great guy doing great things, and he has that approach, right? And as he should, because he's running operations, and I think that's great, and we can be conscious of where that sure comes in handy, right? And then I think that, but the communication of here's as a business, here are our goals, and being goal focused versus approach focused.
Here's my question though. In leadership, especially when you're winning, there's all these things that tell you you're special and you're the big cheese, and it's easy for staff to treat you like you're special and stuff like that. So I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah. And I want to go next level deeper.
Okay.
For any of us that have the temptation to want to just do it our way.
Yeah.
And we recognize maybe we're bulldozing people or railroading or, any oh yeah, that's my canary in the coal mine. I know I need to bite my tongue and ask a question instead, or anything like that for you? You know what?
Maybe not, because I think I have the opposite challenge, which is, you've heard of imposter syndrome. I think, which is almost the opposite of that, which is sometimes I'll feel like, gosh, do I really know what I'm doing here? I don't know what I'm doing, and I just want to not mess this thing up. And so I think I have the opposite challenge.
Mm-hmm. And I would actually suggest, we've done 175 of these episodes. I've done, our consulting firm has been doing this kind of stuff for years, right? Uh-huh. I would suggest that most leaders have a little bit of both at different times.
Fair.
And maybe
that's a good point.
Maybe we have a different higher ratio at different times. Okay. So let's talk about this one instead, though.
Okay.
At those times when it feels like, but I didn't get my CEO certification. I don't know if I'm allowed.
Yeah.
Do you have any go-to things, or is there somebody you call? Is there an audiobook you pull out? Is there any routine that helps you get back on the horse?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think it's that community of people around me that I might, call up Susan and say, do I know what the hell I'm doing? Or, the advisors around me. So I think that's one. And then I think when I'm suffering more so from that imposter syndrome, it's me almost like touching base with my comfort zone. And my comfort zone might be, okay, I'm just going to pull out some metrics here. I'm just going to like build a little financial model here because I'm going to get in my comfort zone and like take a break real quick and then get back in. And so I guess maybe it's just that comfort zone of where I naturally go to in business management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I like what you said about leaders generally likely have both of that, and the ratio of that changes over time.
Yeah, you try to be in the middle, but you
try to be in the
both
middle.
directions.
Yeah, and fair enough. Like there's definitely times where I might be in my comfort zone where I'm like, I get like I know what's going on here, and I'm gonna be the leader here, and how do you not become cocky in that? That I think is just maybe a day-to-day thing of starting each day off with, okay, what do I need to accomplish here, and what should my attitude be in doing it?
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought up that, like, what your comfort zone is. Mm-hmm. The models,
yeah.
Right? Where's my Excel? Okay.
Deal structuring,
okay.
And yeah.
Because I think, whether it's the business media or whatever it is, mm-hmm. There's a lot of supposed to's. Right. Mm, and there's probably even supposed to's about how you're supposed to get centered or whatever.
Yeah.
And it seems like really valuable to know yourself and know, hey, this is my trigger this way.
Yeah.
And here's how I'm going to, here's how I'm going to hack my own emotions.
Sure.
And get back on. And so I can be the leader and so I can lead from in front. And
yes.
It's interesting to maybe like, instead of listening to the supposed to's, have a personalized, hey, I know this is my Happy Gilmore happy place.
Yeah, this is my happy place, and I'm okay being in that I'm not going to feel like I should take other people's advice on what's going to get them centered again. That over time you learn what centers you. And so what is that, right? And at times, like one of the things that centers me is I have what I call a quarterly offsite where I go and, might take a weekend trip somewhere, and I'm going to not check emails in the weekend, and I'm just going to center myself and have a good time. And I always come out of that with thoughts that I don't think I otherwise would have had if I went from meeting to meeting for those few days. And so it gives me a really good almost, just higher level thinking. And I would describe it as preparation for quarterly board meetings when you're running a business, right? I always loved that time because I carve out time and I think about what matters and higher level, and I'm preparing for a board meeting. So, okay, what did we do last quarter? What are we aiming to do this quarter? How are we doing? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? I think doing that on a personal level is super valuable, and taking the time to do so has an ROI for sure.
Yeah. I know we're wrapping up here. I think about the other side of the supposed to's that I was bringing up before of like, if you're a leader, you're supposed to know what to do. And you're supposed to have things handled that you shouldn't need to get centered. Uh-huh. And you definitely shouldn't admit to anybody that you ever need time
Keep
to
that
get
to
centered,
yourself.
right?
Yeah.
My one lately has been audible.com, my addiction.
Oh,
right?
Your addiction. Okay.
Ryan Holiday wrote this book called The Obstacle is the Way.
Okay.
Like about applying Stoic philosophy to today. And
okay.
all these people had terrible things happen to them and beat it anyways,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'll just like flip that open on the phone and start lilistening and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, right. Grounded.
People had way harder things than this, turned it into their advantage, And it's interesting how that kind of like honesty about it it almost gives the other people in your network that permission too, or when somebody in your network will admit that, then it's like,
it's normal that I kind of feel that too. Yeah, I think that genuineness or the authenticity, whatever word you want to use, is so valuable, and it's powerful, like you said, to feel that from other people, and almost gives you more permission. Yeah.
Well, listen, let's close this off with something like either the best advice you've ever received, or one of the most helpful concepts that has worked for you, or
okay. Well, here's one thing that comes to mind. I'm not sure I'd give it the number one because I have a lot of things that have been really valuable to me. But when I joined Dolphin Capital, it was before we had raised the fund, but the concept was, let's be a private equity fund. And I had another job lined up, and the partner who offered me the position at Dolphin Capital said, so what were you going to make in the other, firm? And I gave the number thinking in my head, oh, he's going to, increase it by 20% or something. And he returned with a number. Okay, great. And reduced it by, call it 30%. And almost is kind of laughing, but to say, hey, don't do this because of money. Do this because you want to get this experience, or in my words, acquire this experience. And for me, my answer was, hey, I am not going to say yes to this position because of the money. And I have really appreciated that lesson early on in my career. And it's something that has had a really strong return for me, meaning I've never felt like I should have taken this position over that one because I would have made more money. Because you know what? It seems to me that it all works out. That, I took a pay cut for, the last 3 positions, but you know what? It's more than paid for itself in the success we've created and the exits we've had. And I'm glad that I wasn't short-sighted in my decision for that.
Love it.
Okay.
Well, let's end there. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.